Prima Prime, we need you to light our darkest hour for the sake of Terado on Toyz.
Hello my friends and welcome to another Terado on Toyz. To anyone who may be new here, welcome to the channel, and to anyone else who's been here before, welcome back and thank you so much for returning. Now today we are going to get a close look at the Warrior of Light Prima Prime, the first OG of the 13 primes released by Transformers Age of the Primes series. And I gotta say, at first when I saw the photos of him, I generally wasn't that impressed. I kind of felt he was a bit bland. But as I dug into his lore and got a closer look at him, I was becoming more intrigued. So that is why we are here today reviewing this figure. But before we move on, I do want to say if you enjoyed any part of this video, do please consider liking and subscribing because it would really help out the channel. And if you do so, be sure to ring that bell so that way you can keep up with the new uploads. All right, so we are going to get started with the Star Saber because I do think it has a few badass features to it. One of them being the obvious, the matrix of leadership attached to the handle here. And I really like what they did with the silvers, with the silver handles, and then the light silver tone on the orb part of it, which really helps the crystal pop more. And I love just this little bit of detail with the imprint of Prima's insignia there. And my favorite part on the sword is the blade. I just love the shape of it. I love the lines, all this detail on the blade. And I like the fact that they used clear plastic for it. It really helps give it that neon, like Cybertronic vibe. So very cool. The only downside of this sword is that when you detach the matrix, the handle is very bland. And I feel like if they just had added more silver to it just to break up this single color here, it probably would have, increased the appeal a little bit more. But, it is what it is. And that's all I got to say about that. So we're going to go ahead and insert the matrix into Prima's chest. And we will get into the sculpt. So I really like the sculpt overall. I like his proportions. And I really appreciate the fact that his backside isn't overwhelmingly bulky to the point that it compromises his balance, because a lot of cases with Transformers, and it's mainly due to the engineering of the transformation, because stuff will get stored in there, but that isn't the case with Prima. So I really like how slim he is, and also just the detailing on his armor throughout. Like, he just looks really nice, very nicely done. And also his head sculpt, right? He looks really noble. So very cool. And he does stand at about 7 inches. So for size comparison, we're going to go ahead and bring in Earthrise Optimus. And yeah, so look at that. So very close in height. Optimus is just about 1/4 of an inch shorter, I'd say. But what a view here to see, like, this contrast in color. Like, I can't wait to get the rest of the primes all lined up just to get, like, the variety of color schemes. So very cool. And that's all I got to say really in regards to the sculpt. Now the color application. So like I said, I wasn't necessarily impressed because I felt he was very bland looking, and that was just due to just his colors. But again, once I dove in and kind of saw some more iterations of him, I understand why he looks the way he does. I've even seen the ones where he's white and gold, which would have been interesting to see on the figure. So I wonder if somewhere down the line they will like do a repaint and have them in white and gold. But I do like this color scheme. The more I look at him, in hand, he's pretty much monochromatic. So he's not white, but he's just like a very, very light gray, like an off-white almost. But he does have like the silver and forged steel gray to break up all of this light color. I mean, he is the warrior of light, so I get it, right? But just breaking it up with these different tones of gray really helps, and they got a nice little sheen to them. I don't think it's just the plastic. I think it's the actual paint job there. So very cool. And honestly, I would say my favorite part about the color application is the use of the blue accent lines, because that also really helps kind of break up this this one color of the gray tone. So it's really nice, and that was one of the things that kind of got me more intrigued with the figure, because especially like around here on his chest plate, it just looks really neat. So kudos to whoever decided to do that. So yeah, now his articulation and range of motion, it's pretty standard. If you remember how I had him in the very beginning, he has the posing ability that one would want with him. You can get him in a nice wide like battle stance if you wanted. The only thing he's missing really is an ankle swivel, a knee swivel, an ab crunch, and yeah, that's about it really. Doesn't have a wrist bend, but everything else he's got, you can. Well, also, you can't point his foot out too far, or just barely. But he's got a nice foot bend there. Got the ankle tilt, which is nice. Nice knee bend. Forward kick is good. If you lift the hip skirt, it's got a really nice side kick. Back kick, not so much because of the back piece here. Now, his waist does have a swivel, so that's good. But the thing I've noticed that was interesting about his torso is that there's a hinge inside that allows him to hinge back a little bit. I don't know what that's for, because it doesn't apply to the transformation process, but that's there. Another thing I thought that was interesting was the shoulder guard. It actually hinges out. So again, I don't know what that's for, because that also does not apply to the transformation. But everything else is pretty good. Full range rotation in the shoulders. However, if you have his arm raised all the way up, you can't rotate it at all. So because that, this armor piece gets in the way. But he does have a really nice bicep bend with the swivel and the wrist swivel, of course. And lastly, with his arm, is that his hands have a hinge, so you can open his hands if you want. And then the head, it's pretty generic, right? It's on a ball joint, so you got the head rotation, a really nice back tilts, and that's pretty much it. Now the transformation process, it's only 20 steps, and it's really not difficult at all. It's just a lot of like sliding tabs into divots. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna open up his forearm, and then you're gonna tuck in his fist like that, and then you're gonna rotate his whole bottom arm at 180. Go ahead and do the same thing with the other arm. Ooh. And then fold that in, rotate all the way around. All right. And then next, we are going to pull from his shoulders and separate his back from the torso. And then that'll allow us to turn his torso at 180. And we're going to go ahead and fold out the wheels. Just like that. And now, right here, there's a little tab that will get pressed into this divot in the back of his head. We're going to fold that back. And there you go. And then next, we're going to work with these double hinges here. So we're going to rotate or hinge these up right at the white hinge. And then from the dark gray hinges, we're going to bring those arms down. And then we just got to bring this back section and line it up so that we can get the tabs here on the sides tucked underneath inside the arms. And then there's tabs on the what's going to be the roof that will slide into the forearms right here in these openings. So we'll go ahead, tuck in those tabs, and then whoop, I missed. There you go. Oh, all right. Might be rushing it a little bit. Come on. There we go. All right. It's so easy. I don't know why I'm having a hard time now. Of course, on camera. So, hold on. Let me undo this and fix it because those tabs aren't in. Okay. Now we can go ahead. Okay. All right. Now we're good. Now we got these two tabs that will get pressed into these two divots, which will, this is going to be the bumper of his alt mode. Sometimes these shoulders kind of get in the way. So let's just get some clearance so we can fold that in. There you go. All right, so that's it for the top half. Now the bottom is really simple. We're gonna attach the legs together like that. And then we're gonna flip these wheels out. And after we do that, we're gonna tuck in the heels where these tabs will insert to those openings there. And then hinge at the hips, bend the legs back so that these toes will slip underneath the roof. And there are tabs on both sides here that will slide into those divots in the forearm sections. Like that. Just make sure you line it. All right. And then we're going to fold the wheels in so that these white tabs get slid into these spaces there. All right. All right, and then the last thing we got to do is take the sword, detach the handle, which gets stored underneath, and you can, you know, attach it to either of these set of wheels. And then we'll take the blade, and that gets inserted into the back underneath the roof. And that is your alt mode, folks. Boom. It's pretty neat. And some people have described it as some type of moon rover, which kind of looks like it, especially, you know, judging by the face of it. But yeah, I kind of like it. And the wheels do roll. Sometimes the handle of the sword can kind of drag along the surface, but generally it does roll around. And he actually has a secondary alt mode where if you take out the handle, you fold out these wheels so that it's like at a 90 degree, and then you fold these wheels just like that. And then that's pretty much it. That's the hover mode, I guess you could call it. So pretty subtle, and I don't know if that's enough to consider it a triple changer, but he's able to do that. One last thing actually is you can take the weapon and I guess if you want to have his alt mode in a battle mode, you can attach the weapon into the bumper and he can basically joust into Decepticons. So that's pretty neat if you ask me. But yeah, I actually, so like I was saying before, you know, even though at first I thought he looked bland, I did like his, you know, I liked the sculpt in both forms. So I just really had to get over the color scheme. But you know, knowing that he is the Warrior of Light, I kind of get it. It does give him a noble look, right? And yeah, so let's go ahead and do a size comparison in the alt modes. We'll go ahead and park him right next to Prime here, and what a really neat sight to behold. And that just about wraps up this video, folks. Please leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed any part of this video, please consider liking and subscribing because it would truly help out my channel. And if you do so, be sure to ring that notification bell, that way you can keep up with the new uploads, because I do often post videos of my artwork and my podcast called Rated G, so feel free to check that out in your leisure. And in the meantime, stay young, keep enjoying your toys, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Peace out.